In your
Yes, sir.
experience, what is the common misunderstanding that men and women still have about what actually constitutes harassment in the modern workplace?
Women still are not allowed to compete with the men in the society. We have, I guess, 28 courts into the district court in Jammu, and every day there are 20 to 25 litigations of domestic violence acts. Everyone is afraid of getting into the litigations, into the courts, and hiring the advocate.
What form of justice or legal, restorative, or symbolic are the most meaningful for displaced Kashmiri Hindus here?
It's an honor to join on such a platform with such a dignitaries. And while we talk about Kashmiri Pandits, we have Kashmiri Pandits who are working in Kashmir also, who are working in the judiciary in Jammu also. And they are working for their rights also, like the refugees, the backbone of the families and the society still face discrimination in various forms.
But there are two parties in every equation. These people here, they don't listen.
Everyone is not getting justice within the time through Article 15, Clause 3, which empowers the state to make provisions for the women and children. And
What conditions must exist for a safe, or voluntary, or dignified return of these Kashmiri?
Talk about that.
If you
So, is there any help from the group, from the society, that they can come forward and speak their mind?
the grassroots
Something
level,
being-
women are encouraged to raise their voices, and justice is not delayed and not denied, and latestly not destroyed. So as we talk about politics, we talk about judiciary. Justice Bibi Fatima was the first judge to serve as the judge of the Supreme Court, and like Indira Gandhi and like Draupadi Murmu,
What is your metric of success?
I understand there are a lot of men who are being caught in, they're being falsely accused for domestic violence or dowry problems. So, how do we get justice for that? And does it conflict with your fight or your idea of fighting for women?
Keeping the world informed.
Good morning and good evening to our distinguished guests joining us from the United States, India, and across the globe. On behalf of the Kashmir Discussion Forum USA, I'm privileged to welcome to today's international dialogue, Women's Right to Equality and Non-Discrimination. We are deeply honored to introduce our guest of honor, Advocate Uma Kapahi from Jammu, as practicing lawyer at the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, and the president of the Human Rights Council of India's Jammu Center. Advocate Kapahi has spent her career in the intersection of law and social justice. She has been tireless advocate for marginalized, particularly through her work with the District Legal Services Authority. Protection is not just a theory, but a reality for women facing domestic and workplace challenges. In today's world, women's rights are the bedrock of functional democracy. As we strive, the society defined by equal opportunity and dignity, Advocate Kapahi insights from the front lines of the legal system and more vital than ever. Please join me in warm welcome to Advocate Uma Kapahi as she shares her perspective with us today. Advocate Kapahi, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, sir. It's an honor to join, and a warm greetings from my side. I am working as an advocate in High Court of Jammu and Kashmir, and particularly working with DLSA, which is District Legal Service Authority, which works for the marginalized section of the society and provides pro bono services to the persons who are in need of it. We have been deliberately conducting much seminars in the urban areas, in the rural areas in J&K, and try to connect with the people. And as we talk of India, we have NALSA at the national level, which is working at the Supreme Court level. We have DALSA at every district level in India, and then we have SALSA, which is working at the state level. We have the executive chairman, we have the administrative chairman, we have different committees, we have helpline numbers, and we when we are not able to be provide the services, so there is a toll free number, and from that toll free number the people who are in need can contact us. The progress of a society is always measured when the women progress. So, as we talk about politics, we talk about judiciary. Justice Bibi Fatima was the first judge to serve as the judge of the Supreme Court. And like Indira Gandhi and like Draupadi Murmuru, the president of the country, they are the best examples. And as we have Constitution of India, which is considered as the longest document, Article 14, Article 15, Article 16, which talks about equality, equal opportunity, and Article 21, right to life and liberty. But there are certain phrases where the women lacks independence and women lacks empowerment because of lack of awareness. So we are here working to provide awareness because I believe there is always a change by spreading awareness. And we, as a responsible citizens and member of legal fraternity, must ensure that legal awareness reaches the grassroots level. Women are encouraged to raise their voices, and justice is not delayed and not denied, and latestly not destroyed. And yet, the journey towards equality is ongoing, providing equality opportunities to the women and the men in the society. True empowerment will only come when women feel safe in the house and in their workplaces, and equal pay becomes a reality, not demand. Education and opportunities are accessible to every girl child, because there are some areas in J&K, because as we are growing, where women are not even allowed to work, and that are the areas because of lack of education, the lack of education, lack of awareness, they're not even allowed to work. Still, the principle of non-discrimination in is not just about equal treatment, but also creating equal opportunities. Our constitution recognizes through Article 15, Clause 3, which empowers the state to make provisions for the women and children, and we are working on it, and we are providing awareness, and we are trying to connect with the grassroots level people and the marginalized section of people. Like we have the Domestic Violence Act, we have the Sexual Harassment POSH Act, we have Equal Remuneration Act. So these legislations aim not only to protect women but also to empower them to live with dignity and independence. However, while law provides equality, the reality often reflects a different picture. Women, despite the backbone of the families and the society, still face discrimination in various forms, be it social, economical, or professional. The principle of non discrimination is not about equality, providing equality, but also providing the equal opportunities in work, in home, and everywhere the women are. And today I am not speaking as a professional, but I am speaking about a legal principle, that is the women rights to equality and non discrimination in India. As in India, the marital rape is not legal, but we are still working on it to make it legal. And earlier there was Vishaka guidelines which came into existence, in which it was formulated in the way of POSH Act, that is Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. Then we talk about Domestic Violence Act. Domestic violence does not only mean that physical violence, it also means the mental violence, it also means the economical violence which women face in the countries. But I believe that India is a progressing country, and we are really working to provide equality amongst every person, amongst the citizen of the country. And through awareness program, a matter of change is being conducted, and women are fighting for their rights. And in the end, I would like to say that wherever the women are empowered, the country always progress. So we are working on this the agenda of empowering women and educating them about their rights and fighting for the justice.
Thank you very much for your perspective, Advocate Kapahi. You have trained so many people on the POSH Act. In your
Yes, sir.
experience, this is one of the most common misunderstanding that men and women still have about what actually constitutes harassment in the modern workplace.
Women still are not allowed to compete with the men in the society. So there are different acts and the legislations which work in order to protect the dignity of the women, because there are certain favors, there are certain things which are asked for the from the women. So these laws protect the dignity of the women, and these laws create a balance between the rights of the men and the women respectively.
What role should government and civil society play in ensuring gender equality is not just in law but also in practice?
So, like I discussed previously, that awareness is the most important aspect by which we can get education. And education does not only means reading books and attaining good services, but it also means to spread the legal education, because we are working at the very grassroots level, and we find people that they're not educated about their basic rights also. In today's scenario, everyone is afraid of getting into the litigations, into the courts, and hiring the advocates because of the fee structure and everything. So, keeping in mind, I always believe that whatever we take from society, in the end, we have to return something to the society back in the one way or the other way. So, by the way of educating people and spreading awareness, I believe that a bit of our education, we are contributing certain perspective into the society.
Since you are a resident of Jammu for a
Yes,
long
sir.
time, I believe,
I belong to Kashmir, but I am born and brought up in Jammu Kashmir, both of the states, because my mother is working and she always moves 6 months to Kashmir and 6 months to Jammu. So we have the privilege to live and to accommodate around the surroundings in both Jammu and Kashmir.
that is great. What would be your message uh, to Kashmiri refugees, including women, those who have become refugees in their own country?
They should raise their voice against the injustice, whatever injustice they are facing. So I always believe, by the way of education and by the way of spreading awareness and by speaking for their rights, we can always say a no, and we can always fight for the injustice, whatever we are facing in a society or in our surroundings.
Madam Attorney, thank you very much for your opening remarks. But there are two parties in every equation. One is the
Absolutely.
person who is raising the voice, the other person has to hear that.
Yes, sir.
Now, there are many people in our country, politicians especially, naming them will be foolhardy on my part, but I can name three people: Lalu Prasad Yadav, Akhilesh Yadav, and Rahul Gandhi. These people here, they don't listen. They don't care for the act. They have a code of conduct on themselves. They don't care about it. If they don't listen, we can keep shouting, nothing will happen.
No, no,
Unfortunately.
sir. Fortunately, I believe that judiciary is also working, and from the previous years and the progress which I have seen, since I'm a third generation lawyer, I have seen judiciary progressing, and we have the judiciary independent body which is fighting for those whose voice are unheard. Whether a person is a marginalized section person, or whether he's a bureaucrat, or whatever position he is holding, judiciary always say with equality.
With your background and kind of experiences you have, what I was wondering, what form of justice or legal, restorative or symbolic are the most meaningful for displaced Kashmiri Hindus here?
While we talk about Kashmiri Pandits, we have Kashmiri Pandits who are working in Kashmir also, who are working in the judiciary in Jammu also. And they are working for their rights also, like the refugees, they are working. And certainly, there were certain protests in Jammu a few months back, I guess, and their voices are heard. And judiciary is helping them in the one way or the other way. So, because of less of resources, everyone is not getting justice within the time. So, might be it can take 10 years, 15 years, but in the end, I always believe that justice is prevailed. It is not destroyed completely, but it is prevailed.
How do present day's policies like domicile law or Article 370 change affect the rights and the future of displaced communities?
So the thing is, the Aadhaar card services, which is pan India, which is working in pan India, it has created much importance, as because of the there are certain people who are not does not belong to India, and they are from, I guess, Pakistan migrants, but having a duplicate kind of identity in country. So the Aadhaar card has made this transparency between the citizens of the country and the people who does not belong to the country, because militants, because in the area where we live, the militancy is at the peak, and people are usually afraid to visit our areas. So the transparency because of this article, the 370 and the other facilities have changed. The philosophy also, and I believe that militancy in such areas have been reduced as compared to the earlier times.
Yeah, but we overseas Indian Kashmir born with the state subject has no domicile activity offered to us. Like, so we still feel that we are left out. Exodus was one reason. Another is a domicile law, which is not really considering the not resident Indians of Indian origin, and that too, especially with the state subject of J&K state. Or as a lawyer, is it somewhere we have already made some kind of progress in this case that
We are already working into this thing because there are different public interest litigations which are being filed in the high courts and also in the supreme courts regarding such things, and there are people who are working on the different faculty and the different topics. So we are working on this, and we are into the PILs and into the litigations, getting the justice for the people who are unheard.
as a human right activist, I wonder what kind of rights safeguards are still missing for minorities in the region today?
I believe from few years only, the people know the concept of Dalsa, have that you can hire the advocate who is a governmental advocate, and you can get the free of cost services, and he'll work as a pro bono advocate. So there are certain facilities where we are working, and there are certain facilities where we are lacking also. As I already mentioned, that the way of spreading the awareness will only help the people all around the world and globally also.
What conditions must exist for a safe or voluntary or dignified return of these Kashmiri? If you say specifically, okay, Kashmiri women, what can be those conditions?
So the conditions, according to me, should be that because we have seen much movies, but whatever the things are shown in the movies, in the reality, the things are not the same.
Correct.
So there are much of the Kashmiri migrants who are living in Jammu also, and I also belong to a half of Kashmiri background and half of a Dogra culture background. So I know what are the problems which women also face, and because of this, you might know that earlier the Darbar move was not there, but now the Darbar move has also started, which creates a work balance between both of the states. So it is very important to ascertain that where our culture is growing and whatever we are doing, because there are many women who are not aware what to do and where to go and how to fight for their rights.
I understand there are a lot of men who are being caught. They're being falsely accused for domestic violence or dowry problems. And they are committing suicide, many of them, for that reason. So, how do we get justice for them? And does it conflict with your fight or your idea of fighting for women?
There's one women's cell which is near to us, and whenever a case is lodged of Domestic Violence Act or 498A, which is now 64 and 65 of BNS, as the new laws are emerging, so there is always a policy and always the principles which is given by the Ministry of Home Affairs, that are called as the SOPs, which are followed by the women's cells also before lodging any criminal complaints or before entangling the whole family into the litigations. And here in Jammu, we have also worked on creating of the men's cell, because we are having women's cell, we are having one-stop stations, we are having social welfare departments, but we don't have the men's cells, due to which the men faces harassment and under the pressure they commit suicide. But while we talk about of the balance, like I work day into night, and we have much number of litigations of Domestic Violence Act. Domestic violence does not only means the physical violence, as you are aware of it. It also amounts to economic violence and the this mental cruelty. And in today's time, in today's time, if women is empowered, she is working, she still faces the mental violence. Petition of domestic violence, when it is filed in the court, it has to be completed within the 6 months. But because of lack of resources, it takes years to get justice.
I had a case where the whole family was taken into jail because the woman accused of domestic violence.
But nowadays, the laws are much strict on the men's side also, and due to the BNS and the BNSS, they are not only pro women. So equality is seen on the both of the
Yeah.
sides, and it is not necessary now that the whole family will be implicated and they will be sent to the jail. Obviously, there is a pre-litigation stage, and before lodging any this 498A case, which is a domestic violence case, cruelty case, obviously the investigation takes place according to the Lalita Kumari judgment of the Supreme Court.
That avoids people to look for mental health or mental treatment, because a girl takes her life or is still alive, but they won't take her to the hospital because they're afraid they will go to jail.
India is a country which talks about customs, the religion, and
Yeah.
whatever the policies we are having. Nowadays, it has become tradition in the name of that we are having the Dowry Prohibition Act also, but in the name of dowry, we are taking indirect dowries, and our parents are supporting this thing, which I believe by the way of education and awareness, they should also be stopped because parents are burdened. Also, this is also we are having this act, but how we are working on it, I don't believe that our families are doing. And to the concept of this living relationships have spoiled our culture. And because of this concept of living relationships, I have seen much cases in which a man is having 3 children, 4 children, but he's living with some other women. And the life of the women with whom he is having a family, a good family, it is destroyed.
Is there something like women's fund in India? There should be some women's movement.
We have women cells. We have this one-stop stations, and where women are working collaterally. And moreover, we have certain organizations which are not governmental organizations but privately created by the individuals, in which the women from every field come together and they share their experience, they share their pain also, and
that's good.
they figure it a way out to come out of the problem, if whatever the problem they're having.
Maybe it should be for the spouse, so men could go there.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Is there some help for them so that they can speak, openly, they can speak freely, that they won't be, because it's a husband or the family, that, it's a social stigma for them.
Ma'am, while we talk about DLSA, which is District Legal Service Authority,
Okay.
and which is working for the marginalized section of the society, but in while we talk about the women, there is no category. There are certain categories in which the people who are not able to get because of the economical factor, they're not able to hire the advocates. They get the services, and under this DLSA, we have a toll-free number which is 15100, which works all over India. And whenever a person is having the problem, they can call on that number, but the identity of the advocate on the other side, whoever is helping that person, is never disclosed. So I believe by the way of these numbers and by the way of these, the problem can be solved. A woman or a man or any person who has any problem in the family can speak up to a person who is unknown to them, and that things are not shared, that are keeping in mind the privacy that is preserved. And if any help is required, we provide them a way out, that how to reach DLSA, how to figure out the matters which are already filed, whenever the parties are into the litigation, whenever they need a solution, we try to provide them a solution over the calls. There is a team which is working day and night. Except us, there are PLVs also, paralegal volunteers, who have the duties into the women's cell, into the different police station, into the colleges. And if on spot any problem arises, they can call us, and we by our way can help the people who are in need.
Have you seen any increase or decrease in these, calls or participation of these women?
As we are progressing, as there are marriages, there are much number of problems. We talk about POSH, that is a prevention of sexual harassment. There are much number of women who are facing the sexual harassments also at their workplace, in their own families, but they're not able to speak up because of that stigma. So we are here to help them, and there are much cases in which a woman is not educated, or because of certain factors of her marriage, or of her of bringing up on of her family, she's not able to get that much of education. So we are talking about keeping the reservations of the women also in every sphere, so that the women can achieve her goals.
So do you see increase or decrease? That's my point. That's
Number is increasing. We have, I guess, 28 courts into the district court in Jammu, and every day there are 20 to 25 litigations of domestic violence acts. Every day, 25 to 30 cases are there of domestic violence.
That's not good.
Great.
In your legal career, has there been a case, without naming anyone, that genuinely changed the way you think about women's rights?
Due to one incident in my own scenario, in my own relation, a woman who was much educated, a woman who was a officer, and she was facing domestic violence continuously, but because of the stigma she was quiet. I believe she was on her deathbed. But still, at that time, also, she was not sharing whatever was happening with her. It is illegal in India to get the gender tested. But still, I don't know from how and from wherever her family got the gender tested, and thrice she was aborted. She was a gusted officer. And at the time of her third abortion, she was on her deathbed when the doctors have said that she'll. At that time, I believe that if she is not able to speak up for her own rights, that how and who will speak? So that was a turning point in my life which changed my perspective. And in today's time, also, lately I have seen a case in which a woman was a KS and her husband was an IS, and they were fighting into the domestic violence litigation. But the women said that I want to fight for my own rights. So these are certain cases which change our perspective also.
I'm a more mathematical type of guy. What is your metric of success?
So when we talk about the family disputes, we try to mediate the matter and we get it settled as soon as possible. But it depends upon the party that whether they want to settle the matter or they want to contest the matter. Because of the ego clashes between the families, the litigations are prolonged, and then the matters reaches 10 years and 12 years and 15 years, and we waste the time. So it depends upon the parties how they want to settle their matter.
But let's say Jammu and Kashmir state, or take specifically Jammu. So how many
Sir,
cases?
I believe in the I believe in the trial court. The number is less. The number is quite less.
Thank you very much, Advocate Uma Kapahi. Thank you again for your insightful and inspiring address today. Your thoughts and shared experiences from High Court and your work in Jammu have truly enlightened us on the practical importance of women's right, equality, and justice under the law. It's clear that while the legal framework exists, it is tireless dedication of advocates like yourself that makes these rights a reality for a woman in their daily lives. Today's dialogue has been a vital step towards that awareness and positive change.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Appreciate it. And Advocate Kapahi, thank you for joining us. I appreciated hearing what you had to say. I think you're doing a very good job, and please continue
you so
doing
much.
what you're doing. Appreciate it.
And thank you very much for all.
On behalf of the Kashmir Discussion Forum USA and in association with Kashmir NRI Today, Voice of Global Engines, I want to express our deepest gratitude to our guest of honor for sharing her valuable time and expertise with us today. It was an eye-opener, and to see that how well informed and educated, since you have been in the field and educated us and enlightened us. Thank all our participants and viewers who joined us from the United States, India, and other parts of the world. Your presence and engagement are what we make these international discussions meaningful and impactful.